So I call him. I said, hey, do you really want to go? I said, if you really want to go, we'll go. I said, but I don't feel good. And he said, no, I'm good. So I laid down, and then I woke up on the floor. That's when the blast went off. It blew me out of bed, and I was a quarter of a mile away as the crow flies. And it blew all the windows out of the house, blew all the doors out of the house. There was debris in the front yard, and I woke up on the floor.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Tracer Burnout. I'm Dan.
And I'm Roger.
And we have a great guest lined up for you today. But first, we wanted to say thank you to former guest Joe Fontenot, author of Sons of the Argandop. He sent us a couple of shirts, one of which Roger is now sporting, and a couple of mugs that, of course, because we love our coffee, they will be making repeated entries onto the show.
We don't want for coffee around here.
We do not. We certainly do not. And of course,
this is a pretty great shirt, and it must be for me to wear a 101st shirt. So we love you, Joe.
That does say a lot. Roger's 82nd Airborne elitism knows no bounds.
Well, I mean, it's well placed.
But if you would like to get some merch of ours, some Tracer Burnout merch, you can go to the website,
tracerburnout.com. Click on the merch tab up at the top, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff on there. So it's a small way to support the show.
It is indeed. So would you like to introduce our guest?
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Mr. Brian Peacoe. Stay tuned.
Enjoy. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're glad that we were able to catch you while you were passing through town.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it. I've been watching your guys' stuff for a while, and I hit up Roger and I said, hey, if you guys need a show to record, I'll be in town the last week of June, so let me know.
Well, I'm glad it worked out. So, we'll get started the same way we always do. Does your family have a history of service?
Not my immediate family. I've got a couple of cousins that, like distance cousins that were in the military. I remember when we're talking, I don't know, 89 or 90, I went to a welcome home party for a cousin of mine that was coming back from Germany. And I didn't even really talk to him. I was a kid at the time. And I don't think I've seen him since. So,
welcome home.
Yeah. I have no idea what he's doing or what have you. And I've got an uncle that was in the Army. I think he was a sergeant major, but he probably retired in the 80s. So, yeah. And I never talked to him about the military. Before me, no. After me, yes.
How so?
So I joined in 94. My nephew, he joined in, I think 2005. You may have run across him, I'm not sure. He was in the 97th for a little bit, and then he was the S2 for the 92nd. But now he's a CW2 at the SFAB at Benning.
Oh, cool.
And then his sister joined, and she was in the reserves, active reserves for a long time, I don't know, 10 or 11 years. And then she's now a warrant officer as well, still in the reserves, but they live outside of Fort Hood. So a couple of those folks kind of followed in my footsteps. And probably the most important one to me was my daughter, who right out of high school went to college for 6 months and was like, no, this ain't for me.
Nope.
Yeah, not me. So she joined, said, I want to be an MP and I want to go to Germany. And she got both. Went to Germany, was in Stuttgart as an MP. Met her husband over there, or her current husband, and he was also an MP. And she got pregnant. She's out. He's still in. He went to be an E7, and now he's an S2 here on Bragg. So he went to OCS, and he's a lieutenant.
Oh, gotcha.
Now on Bragg 3rd Brigade.
So, since you didn't have a large history of service in your family, but before you anyway,
Right.
what led you to join?
It's a funny story. I've been thinking about this one because it's kind of funny. So let me back up to about 92. Met a young lady and started running around with her. I was in 10th grade. And so then come around 93, getting done with 10th grade, going in 11th grade. We had just started 11th grade, and I get called down to the counselor's office. And I was like, oh, I talk to this guy all the time, no big deal. I come bebopping into his office, and there sits her and her mother, and she's holding an ultrasound. And I was like, ruh-roh. And my bebop stopped. It's like,
as it does, yeah.
You know. So my daughter was born in November of my 11th grade year. So she was born, it's kind of funny, she was born November 19th. It was on a Friday of 93. And then I signed out of school. I told my dad, I said, I'm not doing this. I said, I've got to keep working. That's what I felt like. Take care of my kid and all of that. So he signed me out of school. I got my GED the next spring, like I promised him. And so then I was working at Jiffy Lube and ended up going and installing fences. And that was like backbreaking work. And I was 18 years old. And that summer I'm sitting on the couch on a Saturday morning and I'm eating some cereal or something, and there's like an Air Force commercial that comes on. It's like,
aim high.
Aim high, right? And I was like, damn, I want to fly some jets. I'd never thought about the military. Ever.
Where did you live?
In Winchester, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah. And obviously, having a GED, you ain't flying no jets, right? So that tells you what I know, or what I knew at the time. So I was like, get dressed. I go to the recruiter. I go in the Air Force. I'm like, hey, I want to join the Air Force. And he's like, do you have a high school diploma? I'm like, nope. I got me a good old GED. Right? I was all proud. And he's like, yeah, we don't take that. I was like, oh, man, he busted my bubble. So he was like, you could go to college for 6 months and get, or he said, you go to college, get like 15 credit hours. We'll take that. And I'm like, how long is that going to take? He said, full time, about 6 months. I'm like, no, I got to work full time. I'm going now. And he's like, well, let me introduce you to Sergeant Osby. He was my recruiter, Army recruiter. I was like, all right. 2 weeks later, I was at MEPS. So I get to MEPS. I go through the whole rigmarole. I'm sitting there. I stayed the night, did the physical. Next day, I took the ASVAB. I'm waiting to talk to the counselor, all of that. I'm sitting there. I'm like the last dude in this big area. Everybody's going to see the counselor and stuff. Well, here comes my recruiter. He's like, hey, man, I got some bad news. What's that? He's like, the window for GEDs closed last night. Can't go in. I was like, what in the heck? So I go back home. Like 2 weeks later, he calls.
Is that the duffel bag drag?
Yeah, I was so disappointed, but because I was so excited, but then I come out of there and not getting the sign up and stuff. I was like, oh man, now what? I gotta go back to putting in fences. So about 2 weeks later, he calls me on like a Sunday night at 11 o'clock. He's like, hey, I just got back in off leave. I got a message that someone with the GED dropped out. You're next in line. If you want it, we got to be there tomorrow morning. I was like, see you in the morning. Let's go. So that was sometime late August. And so I said, hey, when can I go? What's the earliest? Well, let me back up. I was in the, this again shows how little I knew. I'm sitting in the counselor's office, and she was like, all right, what do you want to do? Here's a list of jobs. And I'm looking at them, and I'm like, I don't really know what any of this is. And I'm like, what's infantry? And I was like, is that like trigger pullers? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't want to do that. I was like, I want to find something that I can do on the outside. So she's like looking at it, and she said, all right, land surveyor or medic? I should have chose land surveyor because I didn't do surveying, but I was out in the field working. I'm working with my hands, and I absolutely hated medicine. I couldn't even watch my daughter be born. It grossed me out. I chose medic. I don't know why.
Very nice.
So then I said, okay, well, where can I go?
It's Providence.
Or I said, when can I go? And they gave me a date, and I said, well, what's the earliest date after November the 19th. I said, because my daughter turns 1. And they were like, you would report back here on November 21st. So literally 1 year to the day I signed out of high school, I went back to MEPS. And then the next day I left, the next morning I left, and I was in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Basically 1 year to the day I signed out of school.
What did your family think about all this?
Oh, my dad was ecstatic, right? Because
it's a real job.
Yeah, right. This is not to put my family down, but my immediate family, never done anything like that. So he was real proud, and he had said he always wishes he would have joined the military, but he had like a 3rd grade education and stuff like that. So the fact that I dropped out of school and I was willing to do this, right? It was the next best thing of going to college, and so he was like, absolutely, like, go, happy for you. So November 22nd, 1994, I landed on Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. So that's how I ended up, all because of aim high. No clue what I was doing, dude.
That's a path.
Some of those commercials, the old school commercials, really did work.
The 90s were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
all that you can be.
In the Army.
Yeah. So
National Guard.
Reserve.
Yeah, it got me, and I guess once I walked in there, I decided, you know what, hell or high water, I'm going. Right, it's something, and I don't know if I would have joined the Marines if they walked me to the Marines. I probably wouldn't have joined the Navy because I was thinking 6-7 months on a ship.
Pass,
right? Instead, they sent me to the desert for a year eventually. I'm like, man,
if you only knew.
The ship sounds a little bit better. Plus, I think the jobs in the Navy seem to be so much better, at least for the outside. So, anyway.
So you're at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. You're not one of our. We've had several guests who've done basic there. So it's not OSIT though, because your AIT. We'll get to that in a minute. Right. It's elsewhere. So tell us about basic training.
It was very easy. Not just because it was easy for me.
Because of how awesome you are.
It was just very easy because we were the first class there that was integrated with males and females on that installation.
Interesting. Okay.
So the drill sergeants were like, how hard can we be? Don't know. So to me, it wasn't as hard as I expected, not because I was physical fit or a brute or anything like that. I expected to get slapped around and all sorts of stuff, And
that's a different school years later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. But I don't know. It just wasn't what I thought, and maybe no basic training was what I anticipated. I don't know. Maybe in the 60s. I don't know.
Did you have any? Because you didn't really have anybody that could tell you what to expect going in. So did you have any difficulty adjusting to the scheduling, the daily rigor, anything like that, or the expectations they had?
No, I was actually scared to death. Like it was like just shut up and do what they say, and just be where they told you to be, in the right, and it's still true. Right time, right uniform, right place.
It's about 80%.
With the right attitude,
yeah.
you won't fail.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of the way I looked at it, and I just didn't quit. I just, running. If I had to puke, I puked. I just kept running.
It's funny, the amount of people we've spoken to for this show, there's two, I'm kind of generalizing a little bit, but there's two mindsets that a lot of people have had towards basic training. One is it's very anxiety producing because I don't know what's coming next, and I just, the type of personality that it needs to know what's going on all the time, and it made them nuts. And then there's a second type of folks who are just like, this is awesome. All I got to do is just exactly what I'm told and just stay out of trouble. I got three hot meals and a place to sleep, and just tell me what to do. I'm good to go.
The worst part of basic training for me, honestly, was, there was two parts. The first one was literally day one. They're smoking the crap out of us, and then they were exhausted, and they're like, all right, take your crap upstairs and find your bunk and all this stuff. So they were putting it in there, and they're like, all right, get outside. And me and the dude next to us, the locker's like this, we just run outside. They're smoking us some more. We run back in there. They'd gone in there and found out who locked their locker and who didn't, and me and this clown didn't. and now all of our stuff's in one big pile.
Of course.
Yep.
Right? And in the midst of it, I ended up with I think 2 pair of socks and 2 T-shirts. He ended up with the rest of my stuff, and I don't think I ever got it back. I think I went with 2 pair of socks and 2 shirts for a while. That was probably the worst to start it off. And the absolute worst was we had Christmas leave in the middle. When I got back and sat on that bunk, I wanted to quit.
Those
Like,
were
I
the
wanted
hardest
to go
things
home.
you ever did. Yeah.
Yeah, because I would have rather just gone straight through 8 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever it is, and just been done with it.
Yeah.
But go home for 2 weeks and then knowing what you're going back to,
Yep.
you know, it kind of reminds me we can get to this as going to airborne school and not knowing what the heck's going to happen down there, you know. So, those were probably the 2 hardest parts. The easiest part for me was the gas chamber, because I didn't have to go. I was on KP. And then, I don't know why, we didn't make it up. And they come in, they told like 3 of us to sit down, and we watched this video, and they're like, all right, there's your gas chamber. And believe it or not, 23 years in the Army, I was in a gas chamber once with a mask. I never had to take my mask off. 23 years in the Army.
Well played, sir. Well
Yeah,
played.
right?
Impressive.
I've had worse, though. We could talk about that later, but yeah.
Okay, so finish up basic, and you're off to AIT, which for the medics is
Fort Sam, Houston.
Fort Sam,
They
Houston.
put us on buses and bus us down. And we get away from the installation, and somebody talks the bus driver into stopping at a store. And then it was just a party the whole way. And there were things on that bus, happened on that bus I won't talk about.
For those who don't know, where's Fort Sam, Houston?
Fort Sam Houston is in San Antonio, Texas.
Party town.
Party town. Yeah. Especially when you finally get down there and you get some liberty, you know, get some time off the installation. The Riverwalk is fantastic.
It is.
It is indeed.
And there's places to get fake IDs. And
I don't know what you mean.
You know, so I don't know what you mean. So I got there. I was when I got to basic training, I was 18, and I turned 19 in January. So 19 in basic training, and then get to Sam Houston. I'm still 19, and I was there from February to April. It was 16 weeks, I believe it is.
The young lady from high school, were y'all married?
I broke up with her before I went to basic training.
Okay.
And then decided that was a mistake. So after I went to AIT, I went to jump school, and then I went home, and we got married.
Okay. Well, so I didn't want to get too far ahead of us. So AIT. So
Yeah.
so you're technically single.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it was fun. I had a good time. Yeah.
Was the medical training everything that you expected?
Oh,
to
Dan,
be?
all work and no play. Come on.
It was tough, really, because for one, hating medicine or not just hating medicine, but the blood and the stuff like that, I couldn't look at. Like, I literally refused to watch my own daughter be born.
Yeah.
So getting into that, and most of it was book stuff. We really didn't. The whole TCCC thing really wasn't around then. As far
Which is
as
what?
Which is combat casualty care. So 3 C's or trauma, combat casualty care. I don't know. I
Yeah.
lost it anyway. So the whole live tissue thing, working on that didn't exist, you know.
Right.
The stuff that they do today where you actually see blood from a particular animal.
It was also the 90s. This was the peace dividend and all the Army cutbacks and all those things. So training took a big hit in the 90s too.
Yeah, it was your basic meds.
Yeah.
It was bandages, you know, evacuation, stuff like that. Nothing extensive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it wasn't a whole lot to it. There was nothing that really gored me out, you know, grossed me out or anything like that. So, the training was tough because I'm not a very book smart individual. So, you know, trying to read the hands-on stuff, flying colors, roll right through that. But the book stuff was a little tough. It required some extra studying, and then of course It's hard to concentrate when there's partying going on. So,
There's a lot of that.
you know, so
What was this graduation rate for your class? Because I'm sure there's plenty of people who couldn't cut it for one reason or another and had to get reclassed.
you know what? I don't recall many people, if any, going away. Getting reclassed. Going away is kind of a terrible way to put it, but getting reclassed. Not then. A school later, we can talk about medical school later. High attrition rate, but not that one. Yeah, I mean there were some people where you couldn't hack it for whatever reason, whether it was physical or you got yourself in trouble or medical stuff. But I don't
self-selection.
Yeah, right. I don't think for academics there was that many people that I recall.
So you decide and have a change of heart about your romantic situation. So you finish up AIT. Are you on an airborne contract yet?
I was. From MEPS, they asked me, like, hey, do you want to jump out of airplanes?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't know about that. And they were like, it's $110 a month.
So
sign me up. Little did I know.
So you have a pinpoint assignment?
No, it just said I was just going to airborne school. No guarantee to come to Fort Bragg.
So after AIT, you TDY en route?
So
go down to
Fort Bragg. Fort Benning. Barely got there. We left We left San Antonio on a big plane. We flew to Memphis, Tennessee, and then we were on a puddle jumper.
Weird.
From Memphis, Tennessee into Columbus, Georgia, and it was storming and it like hard. And when we first got on, this is kind of a funny story. The stewardess was like, she's a single stewardess, not single this way, just only one. She's like, all right, I need you to move here and you to move here, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like,
weight distribution.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this can't.
That's a small plane,
right?
That is a small plane. However, if it had a stewardess, it wasn't the smallest of planes.
Yeah. It wasn't, a crop duster. So anyway, we take off, and now it's storming, and it's like the rain hitting the plane. I'm like, oh my God, and it's doing this number. And the old boy next to me, he's got headphones on, and he's got the bag, and he's doing this number. And she's like, oh, everything's okay. She's strapped in. Everything's okay. And I had some papers on my lap, and it's going. I'm like, oh my God. And I don't know if it must have hit an air pocket, and it dropped. Those papers went this way. This boy puked. The stewardess freaked out, and I was like, oh, my girls that were going with us started screaming, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to make it to jump school. Like, we landed, and I'm like, I'm never getting back on an airplane that has props, ever. It's
famous last words, right?
Right. What do you think the first thing I jumped out of?
Probably a C-130.
Yes. Yep. And they said, chalk one, whatever it was, face the flight line, there's your bird. And I was like,
oh no.
At least I got a parachute, I guess. So.
And a reserve by your side.
Exactly. Yeah. Guaranteed to open.
That's right.
So, 16 weeks in, I think that's what it was, 16 weeks in San Antonio and off to Columbus, Georgia.
So any highlights from airborne school besides the tear at the props?
Funny story. So, you see or hear the stories or see videos and stuff of them like booting the guys out of the plane because they don't go, right?
Yeah.
Putting the boot in the ass and stuff. And so I was joking with some buddies I met there, and I was like, yeah, I'm hoping to be the number one guy because I don't want to have to turn, and I just want to go. And I'm like, first time, right? You got to go, you got to hand off, you got to turn, right? I'm like, I'll mess around and screw this up. So we get on the plane, and it was only like 8 people per pass. So they were like, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like right next to me. Like, last guy, first pass, and they pointed at me. First guy, second pass, and all my buddies are here, and they're just laughing. And I was like, playing it all big. I'm like, yeah, that's what I wanted. Let's go, right?
Totally playing this up.
Yeah. So pass comes around, and they get us up, and they open the door. Actually, the door might have stayed open. I'm not sure. Hand off the static line, and everything just went silent. Just that. I couldn't hear anything, and I'm just standing there. and I can't remember if I was on I can't even remember which door would be the primary door. I think I was on the alternate door. But I could see the light. I'm watching the ground go by. The light came on and I went. I just walked right out the door. And all my buddies said that the jump master was like, just missed me. And I was gone. And I got on the ground and I was like, wow, can't believe I did that. Like, that's wild. Because you didn't know what was coming.
Right.
Had no idea didn't know what to expect. It's just like going to Bates Train the first time.
Yeah.
No idea what to expect. And I was like, wow, that was cool. I can't believe I just jumped out of an airplane. The second go around, I got shoved all the way in the nose, and they wouldn't do more than 8 people a pass. So when they did this pass, now by this time I'd been on the plane for a while, lots of loops, and I was like the 9th guy. So it was by myself, and then there was another guy over there. They made me go over there. Now I'm the second guy, and I am shaking like crazy.
My second jump was scarier than my first two. Yeah.
I'm hanging on a static line. I'm hanging on the side of the plane. They're like, grab your reserve. And I'm like literally shaking. I was so scared.
Yeah.
Because I knew what was coming. After that, the last 3 was easy.
Yeah.
It was no big deal.
That is almost exactly what mine were like too.
Yeah.
The second jump was the most terrifying jump I ever had because I was like, man, maybe I just got lucky on the first one.
Yeah.
It was a fluke.
Right.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I was so scared. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so while you're at airborne school, presumably you get your assignment.
Yeah, going to Fort Bragg, and I was like, sweet. That's exactly where I wanted to go. Close to home, really. Then I start hearing these stories, or talking to people and stuff. And I don't know, maybe I knew I was coming to Bragg. I can't remember, but anyway. So get to Bragg, I get a couple of weeks leave. I go home, I get married, and I have to report to Bragg. I'll never forget it because it's May 26th, 1995, and the 26th is my brother's birthday. So I'll never forget that day ever. But it happened to be the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. So nobody's around, right? Everybody's bailed. I drove down that day, checked in, and drove right back to Virginia for the weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's 5.5 hours, but
newlyweds.
yeah. So and then I was down here at 19th replacement in the old World War II barracks. Mm-hmm. And I'd been hearing these stories about how much, like the 82nd was in the field and such. I was like, man, I don't really want to go to the 82nd. Like, I don't want to spend a bunch of time in the field, away from my kid and my wife. And so they call all these people out. And they didn't call me. And they're like, hey, all right, you guys get on the bus. You're going to 82nd replacement. I'm like, what about me? I'm like, damn, maybe I'm going to Womack. They're like, hey, you're going to 525 MI. And I'm like, I'm not MI. Shut up, Private.
Okie dokie.
Yeah. So, under 525 was I think the 519th or 319th MI. Within that battalion was like Fox Company 51st LURS.
That was the LURS, yeah. Back because division. Well, that's Corps. That was Corps, yeah.
And that's an all-volunteer unit.
Yeah.
You got an interview to go over there. Mm-hmm. I just showed up. They're like, who are you? Mosquito Wings Peacoe. Private Peacoe, I don't know. Well, you didn't interview with us. I'm like, and?
I was told to get on the bus.
Yeah, I'm just doing what I'm told, man. Well, that didn't last very long. So riding around with another private, and that's basically like 18th Airborne Corps Ranger Unit, as you probably know, for those that don't know.
So what is LURS?
Oh,
or what was LURS?
Yeah,
I should say.
Long range surveillance.
Yeah.
Long range surveillance detachment.
Yeah. So we did some wild stuff there. A lot of PT, a lot of crazy PT. We run down the road near Range Road behind Green Ramp, and there was a dirt road branch off to those ranges there, and it would have rained, big mud puddle, big company fight, just big wrestling, mud wrestling. That was kind of fun, right? And then riding around one day with another one of the privates, probably I don't know, we're going to lunch or something. He said something about Ranger School, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't care. I was like, I ain't worried about Ranger School. He was like, oh man, you better care. And I was like, all right, maybe one day. I don't know. That gets back to the section sergeant. That gets back to the headquarters platoon sergeant. That gets back to the first sergeant, and I'm out of there. Like, and the only reason I hung around as long as I did is because on a road march, I fractured my foot. We done like 20-mile road march, and I had a stress fracture in my foot. So I'm in a cast. They didn't want me around. I was up guarding their gym. By guarding, I mean sleeping. And
vigilant.
Yeah. So the day the cast come off, they handed me my orders, and I went to 82nd. And I couldn't wait to get out of there. And I was glad to go to the 82nd. And I was like, thank you. I'll take it. Let's go.
So how long were you there at Lurs?
So I got there, I don't know, first week of June, and I was in 82nd in August.
Oh, wow, that's fast.
Told you,
Yeah.
Told you, it didn't take long. I was out of there. They didn't want nothing to do with me. Nothing.
So which brigade did you go to?
3rd Brigade, 2505.
I guess that counts.
Yeah, and I think the section sergeant seemed to like me over at Lurs, but it just so happens that, and I don't know, it might have been coincidence, hell, I don't know, but he had spent a long time in 2505. So I don't know if it had anything to do with it or not, with me getting there, or maybe it was coincidence. I don't know. But when I told them where I was at, they're like, "Oh, you know Sergeant Terry?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "They didn't want me." Like whatever.
The Army, the military in general, for as big as it really is a small world.
Yeah, for sure. So
you're in a line company, meaning infantry, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in an infantry company in the 82nd.
Yeah, second of the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment. 2 Panther, and I got there in August, and I'll tell you, it was the best thing that could have happened to me. I grew up there, like literally, and a bunch of us medics got there about the same time, literally from I would say July, the guys that got there right before me, through October and November. It had to be 10 or 12 of us, so massive turnover in this platoon, but we all grew up together, and it was fantastic. Many of those guys I still talk to today.
Yeah.
Many of them. And that was, pushing 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So, some of my best friends in the world. So, it was a lot of fun. I was there for 2.5 years, almost 3 years.
So you would have been a junior NCO by the time you wrapped?
Should have been.
Okay.
I had some good NCOs. One of them I still keep in contact with, but I had some that were terrible, and toxic leadership, no mentorship at all. Just wanted to punish us. Our platoon sergeant, he would make us run in the afternoon, in the middle of the day, in the afternoon in the middle of August, July, June,
that's
July,
good training.
Heat like this, right? Like we've had, 95 degrees, and he'd be drinking a cup of coffee and smoking a cigarette on the little dock, and when we left, then he'd be standing there doing the same thing. We'd come back, and then he would tell us to go shower and get back in uniform, and then we'd be there till 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. And
that's the pre-GWAT
yes,
Army. So very, not that nonsense didn't happen after the GWAT, but it's very different shift.
Right. So,
as a medic attached to a line unit, what is your role? What are your responsibilities?
you could have one of 3 really. So we've got the whole medical platoon, which falls under the headquarters section.
Mm-hmm.
We kick 4 medics out per line company, Alpha through Charlie. And then we have an evacuation section that consisted of 4 ambulances. And then we have an aid station section. So you would be one of those, or you would move around. I started out on the line with Bravo Company. And while that kind of sucked because their motto was be no, there would be no transportation. You walked everywhere. It didn't matter how far out you were. You walked home.
It's good training.
You jumped in and walked home.
Good training.
So I was Bravo Company 3rd Platoon medic for I don't know, a long time. They were the Muldoons. I still keep in contact with one of the staff sergeants from there. He's a retired command sergeant major. Great dude. Probably the only guy I keep in contact from that time, from the line platoon. So I went to JRTC with those guys a couple times. A lot of field training, and it was a good time. It was a lot. I learned a lot. I learned what spooning was.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a proud Army tradition.
Yeah, I was a little spoon.
The littlest.
Yeah.
I find that sad that you did not know that before you joined the military.
Yeah. I remember laying there. It was cold as crap one night, and the medic on an infantry platoon is in the medics or in the platoon sergeant's hip pocket, and so they tell everybody to hunker down. We're in a assembly area, and so I lay down, and he comes over, and I feel. I was like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "Boom." Pulled me up next to him. He said, "Just relax. You'll thank me in the morning." Basically.
I don't know what direction this is going.
Yeah, and
So much for breaking them in easy.
Yeah, and needless to say, I warmed up real well. Slept comfortable.
He was totally right.
Yeah, he was totally right. So, yeah, I learned that night that 2 people's body heat is better than 1. So, yeah, that's broke me in right. Actually, what really broke me in was in August. So I hadn't jumped since May. And your cherry blast, what they call a cherry blast, first jump in 80 seconds, supposed to be daytime combat, no combat equipment. Nope, not mine. Midnight, nighttime.
Mastag. Yeah.
Combat, Fort Chaffee, Arkansas.
Nice.
Right. And
did you still have to jump with the cherry pie in your pocket?
No, nobody made me do that.
Okay.
Yeah, but back then we used to jump. I don't know how long you've jumped, but back then we jumped with the pro mask under your ruck. So put it around your waist, lay it in the front, and put your ruck over top of it. And well, when I stood up, mine got hung up between my legs, and I couldn't get it up. So now I'm like waddling out the door. I get on a drop zone. I got no idea where to go. I'm headed this way. I should have been going that way, and luckily somebody recognized me. "Doc, is that you?" I was like, "Oh, thank God. Let's go." They took me to assembly area. We did 1 mission overnight, but we were there for 3 days, sitting around in the god-awful heat doing nothing. And then we did a hot load to come out of there in the middle of the day in Arkansas in August, hot as bejesus, and rigged up in the sun, walked on an aircraft that was running, and then flew back. And it was a miserable flight to jump in. Luckily, there were storms here, and we didn't jump. I was thankful.
Yeah.
The coolest part of that is one guy was kind of passing out from dehydration, and I was up on some rucks, pulled an IV out, and the plane's doing this number, and I managed to get an IV in him.
Yeah. On the first try?
Yeah.
On the first pass?
On the first pass, yeah. Yeah. That's why you just go right in the big vein. Don't play around with the little ones.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was kind of the highlight of that. And then, so I was a line medic for a while, and then I got moved to the evac section. I never was in the aid station there, but I got moved to the evac section and working on vehicles and, running medevacs out in the field or simulated medevacs and stuff like that. And that was kind of cool.
Going to the range in an ambulance with air conditioning and waiting for an injury to happen.
That's right.
Sitting out on Sicily drop zone in the dark.
Yeah, I saw some stuff out there, boy, pulling drop zone coverage. I mean, that's where I really got my first taste of true trauma out there.
What was the worst one you saw in that particular time? Jump injury, presumably.
Yeah. The bloodiest thing I saw, actually, that wasn't that time frame. That was a couple years later. But during that time period, I picked my squad leader up off the drop zone. He messed his back up. I see a dude laying there, and it's a medic thing. You walk around, you see, something hunkered down, you check on it, and sometimes it's a girl taking a leak. Oh, sorry, just keep walking. All right.
Yep.
And so one time I was like, "Hey, are you all right?" And he's like, "Peacoe." I was like, "Fitz?" And he's like, "Hey, I can't move." And he was out. I'm like, boom. And he wasn't out. He just couldn't move. So we scooped him and sent him to the hospital. He just jinked his back up.
Yeah.
And he ended up being all right. Nothing major, but
Could still be scary anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime you got spinal involved.
yeah, you got to take precautions
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure with that stuff. Yeah, that was probably that. And when we were at JRTC once,
Dan's favorite place.
oh yeah, a guy was cinching down a camel net behind a 5-ton, and somebody got in and backed up. And luckily, it only run over his legs, fractured his femur.
That happens more often than people think.
We were indexed, so everybody was kind of gathered around. The battalion PA was there and stuff like that. So it couldn't have happened at a better time, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
if it was going to happen, because
Yeah.
the PA's right there jamming him with morphine, chilling him out, call the bird in, fly him out.
I think people would be surprised how often people get crushed by vehicles
Yeah.
due to. I mean, it's accidents. It's sleeping under a vehicle and it's not chalked properly,
Right.
or in a
Brakes fail.
staging area. And it happens more than people think that.
Yeah, it's a shame. Luckily it wasn't a track.
Yeah.
It would have been deadly.
That would have been.
That has happened more times than not at NTC.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that was probably medically the highlight. But as far as the stuff I saw,
Yeah.
How long was your initial enlistment?
4 years and 26 weeks.
4 years
Oh, so
after
4 and
you
a
get
half.
done with training. After you get
4
done with
years
your
after I got
yeah,
done with training,
Your
yeah,
basic
yeah,
and AIT. Yeah.
That's right.
So at this point, you got to be getting close to the window to re-enlist.
No, so I wasn't sure I was going to re-enlist. I think my window then, it was a year out. So I was supposed to go until May of 99, I guess. August 94, May 99. And is that math right? I don't know. Anyway, maybe it was 98. But anyway, I was coming up and I was thinking, you know what? I was like about 18 months out. And I'm like, I might just get out. I see everybody, turning down, not wanting to go to Korea. And I said, you know what? Maybe I'll try to go to Korea. It usually takes about 6 months on assignment, and you go and you spend a year there, and I'll just get out and go home and figure my life out. Because again, I was single, so the whole marriage thing didn't work. We skipped past that. Yeah, that lasted until about November of the same year.
Did she come down here to join you?
She did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a young age thing. She was only 17, so I think she might have turned 18 when she moved down here. But it was too much for her. I was in the field all the time, and it just didn't work.
It's hard.
Yeah. So then back fast forward. Yeah, I was like, man, maybe I'll just go to Korea and then get out and go home, be near my kid and stuff. And so I called Branch. I'm an E4, and I was like, hey, I want to go to Korea. I got nothing in Korea. I was like, what? Like, I got nothing in Korea. Like, there's people that don't want to go. What do you mean there's nothing in Korea? Yeah. She's like, no, you want to go to Italy? Really?
Korea what?
Yeah. I was like, well, isn't that like a 3-year tour? She said, no, this happens to be 2-year. And I was like, I was still legally married at the time. And she gets unaccompanied. And I was like, oh, okay. So I said, can you give me 24 hours? And she's like, yep, let me know tomorrow afternoon by noon, or by 12. I said, okay. So I knew a couple people. I went and talked to them. Hey, I know you've been to Italy. What do you think? I got a chance to go. They're like, go. That night I called my dad and I said, hey, Dad, I got a chance to go to Italy. It would keep me in the Army longer. He said, when are you leaving? Not yes, but when are you leaving? He just didn't want me to get out at all. So I was like, all right, there's my answer. So I called her back the next day, and she said, all right, I'm going to, you need to get it at 4187, get it to me. I think you had to fax it back then. And
Fax?
yeah, no email. And so, yeah, I got it signed, faxed it off, and then within no time I was on assignment. And that was, that was the fall of 97. Yeah, it's about fall, coming into winter 97. So that had 18 months to go. So yeah, it would have been, my ETS would have been May of 99. And so I extended for 14 months. I didn't re-enlist. I just extended for 14 months. And then I went to the board before the promotion board, before I PCS'd. And kind of got screwed on this deal. When I got to Italy in June, actually before I left, I made promotion points. So I'm like, yeah, I'm getting promoted to sergeant. And back then you had to have PLDC, professional leadership development course, or what is it?
Primary leadership development.
Is it primary
course.
leadership? Oh,
That's what it was. Now it's the warrior. Or no. I think
It's
they
BLC.
Yeah, now they changed it again. It's the basic
Basic
leader
leader
course.
course.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Went to warrior leader course, then basic leader
Right.
course.
So you had to have that before you could actually pin. Well, I didn't have time to go because I was PCSing. So I was like, no worries. I'll go when I get to Italy. USERA has a rule, you got to be on ground 90 days before you can go to any school. So
U.S. Army Europe. Yep.
yeah. So I was promotable and just sitting around waiting. I was doing stuff, but I was just waiting for that 90 days so I could go to PLDC.
Mm-hmm.
So went to PLDC in September, graduated in October, and immediately got promoted. So now I'm a sergeant, and probably 6 months late. 6 months later than I should have been.
Where were you stationed in Italy?
Vicenza.
Okay, so did you have to come back to the States for PLDC, or did they send you to Germany? Yeah.
Grafenwehr, Germany, yeah. And that was a cakewalk. I mean, there was no lockdowns like here. You know, most stateside PLDCs back then, you went, you stayed.
Yeah.
There was no, there was no going home, or there was no going to the bar, which we did because we were right there next to the bar.
I mean, Germany is basically one big bar.
Right, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So, yeah, 4 weeks up there, and managed to get through that. And so I remember, highlight from there, I finished the land navigation course in like 20 minutes. And to come back and the cadre's like, are you done already? I'm like, yeah. Like, you sure you got everything? I'm like, yeah. And so he looks at my sheet. He's like, you got them all. How'd you do that? I'm like, bro, they're the size of tanks. Like literally, they have big silhouettes out there, and then the numbers are like this big, and they're right on the road. I just ran down the road. So
It's not dead reckoning through Area J. Is
no,
what you're saying.
no. I ran down. I was like, oh, okay. I looked at the map, like, oh, this one's over here. Whoop, go around this way, and I was just running, getting some exercise in.
Yeah.
And I was the first one back. I was just chilling with my feet kicked up, and
Yeah.
like
It's a
30
good,
minutes
it's a good
later.
feeling.
Some of the land nav courses that the Army has outside the continental United States are really interesting because it's all that property that those bases are on are owned and essentially are owned by the country they're in, and the military essentially rents them. And so what they have to pay X amount of money for every oil spill, every hole that's dug, everything that's driven into the land, every tree that's cut down.
Wow.
So if you put stuff on the side of the road, it doesn't cost as much.
That makes sense. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, the land nav course in Italy that we would go to was up in the mountains. If you had a good set of binoculars, you probably never had to never had to leave the point because you could all right, terrain association. Yeah, there's that point, and zoom in and find it.
Nice.
So, so I'm in Italy. Italy was great. I was there for 2 years. Met a lot of good dudes over there. I still talk to a lot of guys from there.
Get to travel.
Yeah, I got to travel. You know what? I was young, dumb, single, and I saw from the inside of a bar.
Yeah.
I hate it. I wish I would have gone back at a later age, but that's
You are
that's
not the
extent of it.
you're not the first person that we've talked to that says that. Like,
Yeah.
man, I was stationed over here, and there was so much cool stuff I could have seen and done, and nope, I stayed in my
But I was
barracks room
doing Jello shots in the bar. And
Yeah, right. I mean, I'd go to some cool places, but like I wouldn't go sightseeing. I'd go partying in Venice, or I'd go to partying in Florence or Verona, or go up to Munich. Go all the way to Munich. Go to the bar. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Well, I mean, there is some cool stuff in Munich,
Yeah.
but that city is really like one giant bar.
it's
It
party
is, yeah,
central.
It is awesome. That is my favorite city in all of Germany.
We went to the Hofenbrau house, and I think I managed to drink 2.5 of those big steins, and like barely walked out of there.
Das Boot.
Yeah, and Das Boot. Nice, good reference. And then we ended up at some wild rave with all these flashing lights and these big dancing blow up. Thing. I was like, I'm a country boy. Where the hell am I? Like, this ain't country music.
Yeah.
So,
Euro trash.
yeah.
Yeah, electronic dance music
With all due respect.
hadn't infiltrated the U.S. yet.
Yeah, went up there with a couple of buddies that I still talk to today, and yeah, we had a good time. There's some parts of it I'll leave out, but it was a good time.
So at some point during your 2 years there, you have to re-enlist, presumably.
I did. When did I re-enlist? November of '99. I re-enlisted, and I had a couple of options. I considered. One, I considered getting out. 2, I considered reclassification of MOS, and sometimes I wish I would have, because it was like avionics. I was gonna, if I would have done it, it would have been avionics communication equipment repair. Now I suspect that's a pretty good paying job on the outside.
I have a cousin who did that in the Army and got out, and she gets paid very nice, yes.
I was gonna say, don't tell me a number. I'll be mad at him. So, yeah. So I was like, no, you know what? I'm going back to the mothership. So I re-enlisted. I got a little bonus to go back to Fort Bragg.
How much was the pre-GWAT bonus?
I want to say it was like $3,200 for 4 years or something. So I got $1,600 of it up front, I guess maybe pre-tax maybe, and then I was getting like $400 a year. It was basically like an extra clothing allowance every year. I got that in like November, and it was probably gone by Christmas.
Yeah.
At the bar.
At the bar, yeah. But Europe was fun. Italy was nice. I actually got to go back there with my current job. We'll talk about it later, but back to Vicenza, and I got to drive around there and eat at some of the places I ate at 20-some years ago, and see my old barracks room. Went to my old house, took some pictures of that and stuff. It was pretty cool. So Europe's fun.
Did your family ever come over and visit you while you were there?
My dad did. My dad and my stepbrother, they came over for my reenlistment and spent a week. Neither one of them could wait to get home. It wasn't their cup of tea. My dad, we're hanging around my house, and they're sleeping in because their sleep schedule's jacked.
Probably jet lagged.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like noon, 1 o'clock. My dad's like, let's go get something to eat. And I was like, all right. So I take him to this restaurant, and I was like, all right. He's picky. I was like, he can get some, spaghetti or pasta or something. And I got to read the menu to him, obviously. For one, it doesn't read very well. 2, it's in Italian. So I managed to pick that up. I could talk to girls, and I could order some food.
What else do you really need?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I was set, right? So I'm telling him what they got, and he's like, I want some breakfast. And I'm like, Dad, it's like 12 o'clock. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, where can we get some bacon and eggs? I'm like, luckily there was like a place at the food court on post that served breakfast like all day long. So I got him that was probably worse than some McDonald's breakfast. He was happy as heck. So, but then he was happy to get home. So the crazy part is I took him to Germany too, and we went to Munich, and we tried to go in the Hollywood Planet, or Planet Hollywood, which was literally right across the alleyway or whatever it is from the Hofenbrau house.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let him in because they said he was drunk, and he hadn't had a drop in, I don't know, 30 years, or some craziness, right? And whatever it was, and I guess he was just tired. So his eyes were glassy and older gentleman. Yeah, we couldn't get in. That was wild. Meanwhile, my stepbrother's trashed. They're gonna let him in.
Planet Hollywood, huh? Well, I guess he wasn't living up to the very high moral standards of our betters in Hollywood.
Yeah, evidently not. So maybe if some booger sugar, they let him in.
So you end up back at Bragg.
Yeah, I did.
Right. Let's talk about that after a quick break here.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, we're back. And just so everybody knows, there's a thunderstorm going on outside, so
Yeah.
it's not Dan's indigestion. It's
not.
It's actually thunder.
And
There we go. We've angered Thor. Okay.
Yeah. The weatherman is a proven liar. When you look at the forecast, and it's supposed to be 97 degrees and endless heat.
Oh, it's still going to be 97 degrees and endless heat with thunder.
Yeah.
That's a job you can't lose, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two jobs that you can have and fail at every single day and never get fired, and that's the weatherman and politicians.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've returned to the center of the universe, Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Yeah, I come back May of 2000, and I had spent some time when I was in Italy. I did some line medic time. I did some evac time, and then I was in the artillery battery that they had over there. So I thought,
Delta battery.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I thought, you know what? Let me go to DeVarty and see if I can get a job. So I go to DeVarty headquarters, and I say, hey, I'd like to see the DeVarty Sergeant Major about getting a position within the DeVarty. Okay, well, let me know you're here. Stand outside of his office. So I'm standing out there, parade rest, spits and starch. And he comes out and he's like, waiting on me, Sergeant? Roger that, Sergeant Major. He pats me on the gut and he said, you're looking a little fat. I'm like,
Too much pasta.
I'm like 195 pounds. Right? I'm like, well, I don't know, Sergeant Major. And he's like, all right, well, wait right here. When he disappeared, I disappeared. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that guy. And
First impressions mean a lot, and first impressions go both ways.
yeah, well, when you call yourself Wolf, I mean, it's
I know exactly who you're talking about, by the way.
Yes, if you spend any amount of time here, you do.
I know precisely who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I had a run-in with him later. We can talk about that too. So I don't care about that guy. Anyway, it just so happens that I landed in 3rd Battalion, 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment,
Ah, the Blue Devils.
right there at DeVarty.
Yep.
Right by the same
Oh
spot.
yeah, it's right on
in the corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Always parked behind DeVarty headquarters. And and then I was there for 2 years, and met a lot of good dudes there. Still in contact with a lot of those folks. There's where I saw probably my bloodiest injury on a drop zone, and kind of out on the grassy knoll on Sicily on the far end. And I always had a thing I'd just watch as they come out of the plane, because if you go, I'd want to be Johnny on the spot, right?
You can see the lawn darts.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I watched. There was guy come out, guy come out, guy come out, guy come out, guy come out. I was like, that's not right. So I'm watching, and this dude's not getting control of his chute. And I see him like one arm, trying to yank on it and stuff. And so I'm watching him, and I'm like, I grab my aid bag. I tell my driver, I'm going to mosey this way. So I start walking, and then I hear, medic! So then I took off running. The guy behind him had hesitated through his static line, and it was dangling. When this guy threw his, went like this and caught it.
Caught his arm. Yeah.
And it just ripped him, spun him, and it severed his brachial artery, pulled his bicep down here, and he was a mess.
Yeah.
And by this time, I was a glutton for punishment and gotten married a second time. And so a few months later, he was in the military clothing and sales where the then wife worked. Oh, cool story. E5 can't shut down a drop zone. When you call in a medevac, they just stop all operations.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, if there's
The DZSO was mad.
if there's a FLA
Yeah.
FLA on the drop zone.
Yeah. Well, especially if there's a helicopter on drop zone.
Well, yeah,
You know.
the medevac part. Yeah.
He told me not to do it. I said, I'm doing it anyway. So, anyway. So he goes in. This guy's got this big canvas rod holding his arm up. And she's like, what happened to you? He told her. He said, well, my husband is the one that picked you up off the drop zone. And he said, well, tell him thank you because he saved my arm. And because it was pretty bad.
Yeah, static line injury like that, you won't lose the limb, meaning it won't be severed, but it could take everything off the bone. If it, I mean, like
The functionality. You could
yeah,
lose,
exactly.
Being able to do this number.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So it moved the whole, everything up here down into the
Exactly.
crook of his arm. So.
Yep.
Now, with your, you've mentioned several times that you have had an aversion to the blood and gore.
Mm-hmm.
How easy was that for you? Had you gotten accustomed to it at this point?
Yeah.
Through various training exercises, or
You get over it really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah. I managed to get over it pretty quick just because I was like, oh, well, this is not really as bad as I thought. So, yeah. Like when I rolled up on him, like I said, that was probably the bloodiest thing I'd seen, but it was not bad. I went right to work. I went right to work so fast I didn't even put gloves on. I was more concerned with saving that dude's life than what could happen to me. So, yeah.
Okay, so a couple of years in division.
Yeah, a couple more years in division.
What happens?
9/11.
Okay, right. That's where I figured we were going. So
Yeah, that happened.
you're a blue devil and
Yeah.
9/11 happens. What happened? So where were you? What's your story around that? And then tell us what happens after.
So I'd gone to work, did PT, got changed, was in the aid station. I think I can't remember what happened first. I got a phone call about my daughter was in the hospital, like admitted to the hospital, and I was going to be there a while. And then everything breaks loose, and I was like, "Holy crap!" And I remember my buddy, he was I think he was my squad leader at the time, Mike Eldred, retired first sergeant. He calls me. He's like, "Hey, some dummy just flew a plane into that World Trade Center." He was still at the house. And I was like, oh, man, that's kind of crazy. I happened to be the one to answer the phone to the aid station. And I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. And he's like, uh-oh, I don't think that was an accident. He's like, another one just hit it. And so then it's kind of cool. We had to roll the cart with the TV and then find the channel it was on. And it was just crazy. It was chaos. Everybody's guarding payphones and stuff. Like, they wouldn't let you use the payphone out there. It was a dude with a loaded shotgun at the payphone. Like, really? Okay. So, and then it just went, as you know, things went crazy from there. They did let me go that evening, drive home to see my daughter, surprisingly. So they put me on leave for a couple of days. So that was obviously 2011 or 2001. And I was up for reenlistment. And I should have lied and said there wasn't nothing, but the then wife was from Phoenix, Arizona, and she wanted to go back to Arizona, so she's like, hey, can you see if there's anything at Fort Huachuca? And I was like, sure. Sure enough, they had a position. I reenlisted for it, knowing damn well we were going to be deploying. And I wish I would have lied, because 2 years at a hospital. I spent 7 years in the airborne infantry, working with all dudes, and then I get to a hospital and I was the black sheep, and that was pretty bad 2 years.
What do you mean you were the black sheep?
Out there, yeah, because I was rough and gruff, and I'm used to leading in a certain manner. By this time, I'm a staff sergeant. I got promoted right before I went out there. And
Different culture.
I was cocky. I was a paratrooper. They weren't. And they were dirty, nasty legs. And I was better than they were. And I was just a black sheep. And it's the way I talked to people. I made multiple females cry just by talking to them in a stern manner. Not like degrading or anything, but, one instance I'm sitting at my desk and I had somebody, I said, hey, tell Sergeant so-and-so to come here. And she comes in and she leans onto my desk and puts her elbow like this and does this number. And she caught me at the wrong time. And I gave her a few choice words and told her I had just called for her and then told her to get out of my office. Sergeant Hernandez, she comes in. She'd spent time in 82nd. She got me. She said, what'd you do to so-and-so? I said, why? Well, because she's in the closet crying. I was like, well, she'll be okay. And she was. She come back in, and she's like, can I ask why you yelled at me? And I said yes. And I explained to her, and she was like, okay, got it. That was the end of that. While I was there, I hated it so bad. A thing come down from MedCom. They got MedCom is broken up into different sections of the country, and I think it was like Southern MedCom. I don't know what it was. Anyway, they needed to send someone to Saudi, and I volunteered. They needed an E5, and I volunteered as a staff sergeant. I was like, I don't care, I'll go. And I knew that things were going on, things were going to happen. The ground war in Iraq hadn't started yet. This was late 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, late 2002. And I hadn't been there long, but I was like, I want to go. And it was like 6-month rotation. I'm like, let me go do something because I hate this place already. And actually, I take that back. It was early 2003, March.
Well, that's when it popped off. So
I went to, was it CRC maybe? Conus Readiness Center, Fort Benning.
Yeah.
I was there. They turned me around, sent me home. Sent me back to Arizona. They extended the guy that was there. Didn't need me. I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So I go home, have to watch the damn ground invasion on TV. And
missed it by
that much. Yeah. I mean, I know it wasn't Iraq, Saudi ain't Iraq, but at least I'd have been over there. I felt like I was doing something. So, no deployment there. Go back. They'd already filled my position. I was working in what's called the specialty clinic. We did outpatient surgeries. That hospital over there, it was more like a med center. There was no 24-hour care, no overnight. And I actually liked the job, but I hated the place. So, but they'd given my position away. So, this one senior staff sergeant, she's like, hey, I need somebody to run the family care clinic. She was the NCOIC of the department. She's like, come work for me. I was like, all right, sure. If she'd have disappeared, it would have been the best day of my life. She was terrible. Her and I didn't get along. Me and the head nurse didn't get along for the department. It was a bad situation. The only saving grace was the first sergeant that I had, who understood me because he wasn't a paratrooper, but he spent a lot of time in the combat arms as a medic, and he understood me. And I still talk to that guy to this day. Finally, one thing happened, and I told him, I said, you need to get me out of here, or I don't know what could happen. I'm like, I can't work for her anymore, whatever. So he got me moved over to run the AIT aid stations, MI on Fort Huachuca. I love that. Back working with soldiers, not family members, no more, I'm Mrs. So-and-so, Major General, retired, yada, yada. I don't care, ma'am. Sit there and wait, right? Anyway, so I'm working with soldiers, AIT soldiers, but nonetheless, running sick call for these guys, and it was great. I enjoyed it. I re-enlisted to stay there. Like, all right, things are good. I got a 6-month college option. Now I'm going to college, but I'm still working. I'm trying to do both. They moved that staff sergeant over to take over that department. Yeah, and I was like, oh, well, this is going to crap.
But you had already re-enlisted.
I'd already re-enlisted to stay there. And And so I called Branch. I said, hey, is there any way I can get out of here? Can I go back to Fort Bragg? Where do you think they sent me? Korea. That was all they had. Only thing I got is Korea. Like, I didn't want to go to Korea. I wanted to go to Korea once. Couldn't get there. I said, I'll take it.
If it gets me out of here, I'll take it.
If it gets me out of here, I'll take it. Right. I managed to finish my semester of college, and somehow the reenlistment guy messed up the paper, didn't put the identifier in, locked me in, or whatever it is. And of course, now everybody was mad at me because I got basically 6 months of college, and I was kind of mostly off. I'd come in a couple days to check on things, but the NCOIC, she was mad. She's like, "You've worked the system," and all. I was like, I don't know. I didn't screw up. Somebody else did. So I was there 2 years, and I left. It was not a good situation. I got arrested while I was there.
As one does.
Yeah. Me and my dog got arrested same night.
He had it coming.
He had it coming, yeah. I'd been drinking. It was a Friday night. It's a funny story, actually. And somebody knocked on the door. I'd been out watering the grass, and I guess I had a couple too many and forgot the water was on. And K9 Patrol walking around, knocked on the door, and I had a puppy, pit bull. She was a couple of months old. And I didn't know she was behind me. I opened the door, and she saw that service dog, and she got by me and lashed on that service dog's neck and was wearing that dog out. So I got her off.
Were you on post?
Yeah.
Why? There's probably a prohibition against pit bulls too. Which
I don't know if there was, but
okay.
no, because I would take the dog to the vet on the installation.
Okay.
So
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So the dog was registered to post and everything. Shots were up to date and all of that. But I mean, you might as well fight a police officer when your dog gets a hold of a service dog. You know, I might as well just punched her in the face. It would have been about the same. So anyway, they called somebody else up, and this snot-nosed E4 MP, and he was running off at the mouth. At least I thought anyway. I was drunk. And so he says, I said, I don't understand. Like, I was trying to be civil. I said, I just don't understand why you got to take my dog. Everything's fine. Your dog's not hurt. Right? Even the K9 Patrol said, it was on, it was off, boom. And he was like, because you can't control your dog. And at this point, I didn't have my fill of this guy. And I said, you weren't here. You don't know what happened. So F you. And I didn't say it that way. I gave him the full barrel. And I turned to walk away. And they grabbed me. I was going back in the house. I was like, fine, I'll get my dog in a couple of days. I was headed back in the house. They grabbed me, threw me back up against the car, charged me with provoking gestures.
Provoking gestures.
Provoking gestures. I didn't know that was a charge, but apparently it is. So the funny part is, I'm in the car, we go to the police station, the MP station. They back me in. I'm sitting in the back of the car. I look over. My dog's in the other car looking at me. Like, Dad, what's going on here? Where are we headed? Yeah.
What are you in for?
Yeah, what are you in for? So, things weren't great. They gave me I think they gave me a summarized Article 15, which goes nowhere. It's a counseling statement on steroids. So that was the highlight of that place.
So you go to Korea.
I go to Korea.
Which area?
Casey.
Oh, that's a party.
Yeah. I was supposed to go, when I got there, they first said I was going to go to Camp Red Cloud.
I know it well. I helped shut it down.
Oh, yeah. I was supposed to go to, is that where the 2ID headquarters was? Yeah, I think I was supposed to go to the headquarters for something. I don't know. Anyway, I stayed right there on Casey and went to 1st of the 15th Field Artillery, right up by the flagpole.
Mm-hmm.
Paladins.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know squadouche about a track. Right. Luckily, I didn't need to. And that was the hardest year of my whole life. Not just my career, my whole life. It was brutal. Things weren't good at home. I didn't care for the food. Right. I don't eat Korean food. I didn't like it. Like bulgogi, gags me. Kimchi, even worse. The best thing I had was yaki mandu. I'd eat the hell out of that. But that was about it. And then with the home life being as miserable as it was, it just made for a bad experience being gone. So
everybody knows it's an unaccompanied tour.
yeah,
so
I was over there by myself.
It's back home.
Yeah, I was over there by myself, 12 months.
Yep.
Family stayed at home, and she actually moved from Fort Huachuca up to Phoenix, where she was from, being her family. I was like, all right, that's cool, whatever. I thought things would be good. No, it wasn't good. So it was a bad year. I actually got out of there a little early. I think I did 10 months there, maybe 11. So, no, it was 10. Yeah, because I got over there at 4th of July weekend. I left in May. I was trying to get orders. I had a heck of a time getting orders. Calling branch. I was supposed to go to Fort Campbell. And so my buddy says, hey, why don't you go to SOCM, Special Operations Combat Medic Course? I was like, dude, I can't pass that. I said, I know you went to it. You were telling me the struggles you had and stuff. And I said, he's like, don't worry about it. I'll help you study. I was like, well, how do I get in it? He said, I know the USASOC senior medic, Nick Troxler. And within a week, I was on assignment. Boom. The cool part was that I did the 4187, and before the battalion commander would sign it, like, hey, battalion commander wants to see you about this 4187. I'm like, oh, great. So I go up there, and I'm standing in his office. He's like, so you want to go to civil affairs, huh? Because it was pinpoint to CA.
Yep.
And I was like, well, sir, I said, I want to go to the Special Operations Combat Medic Course. And I said, it's en route, go to that course, en route to CA. And if I remember correctly, this guy's name was Paul Greenhouse. And he said, all right, cool. He said, well, before I make my decision, he said, turn around and look at that plaque on the wall. He had been branch detailed, is that what they call it, to CA. But he was an artillery guy.
Back then it was not a branch yet. It was still a functional area. So
Right, or yeah, whatever it's called, right? Yep. But he was just detailed out to him or whatever, right?
Yep.
And so I see the plaque, and I want to say it said Charlie 96th. And I turn around, I said, oh, wow, that's cool. And when I turn around, he was like this. He'd already signed it. He's like, you're going to have fun. And he wasn't wrong. It was a good time. So I left there in May and started SOCM that fall. Well, no, that summer.
Because there was no qualification course to speak of back then. It was still kind of a gentleman's course for civil affairs. What year is this?
2005.
Yeah, so it's still getting stood up.
Well, no, it hasn't even progressed to making people 38s.
Right.
Yeah, it hadn't even gotten that far.
It's not even a branch yet.
No. That doesn't come about until 2007, as you know. But so it was still long tab guys, SF guys there, some infantry guys coming over, and some engineers. I think that was it.
There's a lot of engineers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I go to SOCM, meet some great dudes, and I just had dinner last night with one of those guys that went to course with, Dan Anderson. And I get hurt on the jump, and jumping St. Mary Glees. We come out. I was the first person out. We're over, Plank Road. Mm-hmm. So you're way off. Mm-hmm. And I drifted all the way across and past the DZSO, facing into the wind, hit the ground, feet, ass, head, fly up, and now I'm getting drugged. So it was painful. I got recycled from the course. And that was the absolute most grueling course I'd ever been to. Yeah, to give you an idea, the first 6 weeks is anatomy and physiology plus pathophys. So anatomy and physiology, 1 and 2, it's 20 chapters in 4 weeks, plus pathophysiology.
I mean, it's a college course.
It's two of them in 4 weeks.
Well, several college courses. Yeah.
It was brutal. It's death by PowerPoint, drinking from a fire hose. I was a medic struggling.
Yeah.
And but I managed to get through that part, the first 6 weeks of it's called Med Funds then, and then it was all hands on really from there, and that's where I shined.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. I graduated there in February, March, and then I went to back then they had, I don't know if they still have it. It's called CAMS, Civil Affairs Medical Sergeant course. Yeah, it's like 6 weeks of, and it was BS. I hope it's better now, but water purification, dental stuff. Like we're sticking needles in each other's palates, and I thought I was gonna get poked in the eye. None of us had any idea what we were doing. Whatever.
We'll just figure it out.
Figure it out.
What's the worst that could happen with with a needle?
Right. So foodborne diseases and all of this stuff, and so then I get to the 96th, and I go to Charlie Company,
Which is the only active battalion at the time.
At the time, right. At the time, each company was broken into 2 detachments. So one was deployed and one was training up. And I get there, and I'm just like floundering, right? Because one team's training up to leave, or one detachment's training up to leave, and one detachment's gone. And so, I get assigned to go to the JTF mission, and they throw this hodgepodge of people together. Captain Jeff Thayer, Sergeant First Class Brian Rauschuber, and myself. I got promoted to E7 in September, and then Sergeant Ryan Smith. The only one of those guys I don't talk to is Jeff Thayer, but I did talk to him a few years ago after I retired. I actually worked with him or for him, so it's kind of cool. We went to Afghanistan, supporting some Tier 1 guys, and that was a good mission. We had a lot of fun, civilian clothes, beards. Long hours, but it was fun. A lot of cool stuff.
What year is that?
We left in October of 2006.
So 6. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were going through the medical course, the CAMS course, a lot of that stuff was in its I mean, you can't even call it infancy, in its in utero stage.
Yeah, the CAMS course was, obviously the SOCM course was well established, but the CAMS course was,
So
I think,
So when you got to Afghanistan on that first tour, was any of the stuff that you got in the CAMS course useful, beneficial for the mission that you had at hand?
I never had a chance to really kind of put it to use. Initially, it was a little more detrimental because of the stuff I studied. I refused to eat the food.
That I understand that.
But that changed one evening on a very, very long mission. We had been out from early morning. It was evening, and I didn't have anything to eat. And we were in this village, and you know the deal. They invite you in, you go.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting out in the truck. I'm like, no, I'll pull security. We don't even need it, but I'll pull security. So they found out, the locals found out I was in there, in the truck. So they come out with this chicken that looked about like that mug. It was orange. And they stuck it in my face, and I didn't have a choice but to eat it. And damn, was it good. I ate a whole chicken. A whole chicken. They were like, oh, this guy can put away some chicken. Man, I was so hungry. I ate a whole chicken. And it was so good. Mm-hmm. And I waited and waited and waited, and I never got sick. And that changed my mentality.
It's a spin of the roulette. I mean,
man, I ate anything.
Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes you wish you were dead.
Oh yeah, I ate my butt off, and in many locations that I ate, and I never got sick. So, never got to, either direction did I get sick.
So you get back from, that's your first Afghan.
That's my first deployment period. Yeah. I felt like a turd because all my buddies had deployed and stuff, and then we've been going to war since late 2001, early 2002, and now we're mid 2006, and I hadn't deployed yet. But it is what it is. So I get back in June of 2007, and we're Alpha Company because of the split.
Yeah.
So growth.
Where were you in Afghanistan?
Salerno.
We were there at the same time.
Is that right? Uh-huh. So were you with the 82nd or with 10th Mountain?
I was first 82nd.
Oh, so you're with Scotty. was the battalion commander's name for the artillery? Custer, Colonel Custer was the.
You're talking 0506?
No, 0607.
We left in a. So he would have been after.
Oh yeah. This guy was wild. Like,
no, I know who Scott.
He was like he's like a legit descendant of Custer.
I have his Custer story. I'll tell you off the record.
He thought we were. He thought Rush and I were, because we would go to their bubs and stuff. Yeah. And he thought we were like super secret squirrel dudes. So this 3 was like, hey, the boss wants to talk to you. So we're like, hey, how do we call you if we find somebody and we need you to snatch him up? Rush and I are looking at each other like. And we looked at him like, who do you think we are, sir? He's like, those guys. And I was like, no, bro, that's not us.
No.
So, yeah.
I'll tell you a Custer story off camera.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
yeah.
so you get back from Afghanistan in
June of 07. And by this time I'm going through another divorce because prior to going, I had so much trouble, family stuff. Tried to make it work after I come out of Korea. And then before I even deployed, she says, I don't want to be an Army wife anymore. And I was like, I can fix that. And so I moved her back to Arizona from here. And so, because I was like, all the stuff I went through in Korea, not getting shot at, I'm not going through that and have to fight bullets too. So I won't fix this situation. So anyway, come back, going through another divorce. We're Alpha Company 96 at this point because of the split. They took those 2 detachments I talked about. Left one of them as Charlie and... Actually, I think they took, one is Charlie, one is Alpha. They took both of Alphas and made them a whole nother battalion. 2 companies and 1 battalion. So, and then I took over the team. Rush was the team sergeant. I took over the team. Rush moves up to be the CMOC and CIC, and we've got Jamie Rodriguez as the first sergeant. Know him? So, yeah. So now I'm a team sergeant.
Life comes at you fast, right?
Oh, by the way, I never went to CA training.
Right.
They're like, oh, OJT. While I was
we
deployed,
were making it up as we went along back then.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we're way over strength on E7 medics. We need team sergeants. Do you want to convert? And I was like, yeah. And I didn't really care for medicine anyway, so I was like looking for a way out. So they're like, here, sign this. I signed it. We sent it back. And one day my ERB, unless the records brief, said 68 whiskey. One day it said 38 Bravo.
You had the whiskey one. They just swapped it.
Yeah, it was actually the whiskey 4. It's like,
or whiskey 4.
Yeah, Sockham is whiskey 1, and then Cam's is whiskey 4.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay.
So yeah, I ended up doing 4 years. About 4 years there in the 96th as a team sergeant. We were supposed to go. I think we were supposed to go to Pakistan. Afghanistan. And this is where my life really went sideways. I come home in June, get divorced, met a girl in August, and married her in December.
You are a glutton for punishment.
I said that earlier, didn't I?
Yeah.
Third time's charm.
And I was just getting started. All right. So we get married. I go on a honeymoon. I come back, and missions changed. We're going to Pakistan. I was like, okay, that's significantly different. And so we train up. My team leader is Betsy Hove. And Mark Kauscher is my CA NCO. And that's just us 3. They would only let 3 of us in.
Yeah.
They're like, you're dual-hatted. You don't need a medic. You're the medic. All right, roger that. So, went there. That was interesting. We were there when they blew up the hotel. My iPod saved my life, I say. 2 weeks prior to them blowing up the hotel, my iPod got stolen. So I told the embassy, I said, hey, I'm supposed to go to another location, but I don't know when I'm going to go yet. Still setting things up down there. But I got to get out of here. People are rummaging through my stuff, and there's only so much, safe space, in there to lock stuff up. So they put me in a house about a quarter mile away. It was a Saturday, September 22nd. And I remember that forever too, because my grandson was eventually born on September 22nd. So we're at the embassy playing. It's a Saturday. We're playing baseball or softball, barbecuing, and been drinking a few beers. So we were all going to go to dinner, and the only place you could really go to dinner was in the Marriott Hotel, because they had a couple of nice restaurants there, and it was supposedly secure. And so I dropped Mark off at his house, and I said, I'm going to go home and shower. And I get home, and I'm just like, I don't feel good. And so I call him. I say, hey, do you really want to go? I said, if you really want to go, we'll go. I said, but I don't feel good. And he said, no, I'm good. So I laid down, and then I woke up on the floor. It was when the blast went off. It blew me out of bed, and I was a quarter of a mile away as the crow flies. And it blew all the windows out of the house, blew all the doors out of the house. There was debris in the front yard, and I woke up on the floor. And that was a crazy, crazy evening. So that was probably one of the hairiest situations I've been in, because I had to go out and pick up one of our guys that evacuated on foot, and now he's walking around Islamabad. So I had to go find him. And we did lose. We lost a Major Rodriguez over there. Cool story. I ended up getting connected with his wife on Facebook. I looked her up, and or I looked him up, and then to read about him years later, found his wife's name, sent her a message on Facebook, told her I worked with him, and then we just kind of connected there. It was kind of cool. So
yeah,
every
the good side of social media.
Right. Yeah. Every year, I post on his, I post the pictures of him and stuff, and then always tag her, and she always thanks me. So to keep his memory alive.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the first coworker I'd lost. While I was in Italy, we sent a company in to jump into Kosovo, and one of my buddies' static line didn't open, and jumping low altitude, and he burned in, killed him. So that was probably that was the downside to the dark side of being in Italy, or the dark spot, I guess, of being there. So yeah, I was in Pakistan until we got there in July or August. And I was
what was you guys' reaction like in the immediate aftermath of the hotel?
High alert, because it came out that they knew Americans lived there, and then now they were targeting them. And then we went from just riding around in a Honda Civic, right, to riding around in a Honda Civic with my pistol between my legs, right, just ready to fend off people. And so the elevation level, or the threat level, was increased. And then
for your team specifically, or for
everybody? Everybody there. Yeah,
RSOs.
Yeah, and then we ended up. Yeah, and then I ended up moving out to Peshawar, where we were supposed to be, and we ended up coming home in November. Before we managed to do that, they tried to kidnap two instances. They tried to kidnap the consulate general. She managed to get back to the thing, and then they stopped 2 American aid workers literally out front of our house and killed both of them. Well, American aid worker and his driver, and killed both of them right there on the spot. We pulled them into our compound. I pronounced that guy dead. I'll never forget this. He had 1 round in the right eye, and then 1 in the left cheek, and he was instantly gone. And then his driver, he had a big hole in his head. I opened the door. They drug him in the back seat to pull his car inside. When I opened the door, I was like, "Yep, ain't no saving that fella."
Yeah.
And so that was pretty rough. That was a crazy deployment there. And then I came back right the week before Thanksgiving in 2008, and then got divorced.
So third time is not.
Third time was not the charm. Yeah, I knew that going in though. I knew that going to deployment. I was like, yeah, I've made a mistake. Like we just rushed it, stupid, and she admitted it. But so yeah, that was that. Came back from that. Still team sergeant. I got a whole new team. I got Brian Harmon as my team leader.
Yep.
Mike Klein as my CA and CO, and Chris Kennedy as my medic. Still talk to all 3 of those fellas today. And then in the summer of 2009, we went to Iraq. and we spent like 9 months, 10 months in between Al-Qaim and Ramadi.
So that's after the surge.
Yeah, so it was weird. When I went to when I went to Afghanistan, it had calmed down. Iraq was going crazy. It was the surge. While we were there, we got extended in Afghanistan because of the surge.
Right.
And then it flopped. Afghanistan fired back up. Iraq kind of calmed down. I was in Peacoe. And then I went to to Iraq. And it was really chill. We got hit with one ID. Brian got shot in the hand. It's kind of wild. He got shot. I think he got shot here, and it came out here and hit nothing. Like, I don't know how that happens, but a small caliber, right through, hit nothing. And that was...
We call that $1 million wound, but
yeah, right?
I never saw any of that money.
Yeah. That was really the biggest thing we saw there. And it was pretty quiet.
Yep.
Hanging out with some NSW, Naval Special Warfare dudes. And then came home from that, and I managed to work my way to SWCC. I had been operational enough.
The schoolhouse.
Yeah, Special Warfare Center, yeah. I'd been operational enough, 3 deployments back to back to back, just going and going and going, plus, going to SEER school, PMT, Jumpmaster school, going to all these different schools. Yeah. As much as you're home, you're gone. Mm-hmm. And I went to SWCC. I did 18 months there as an instructor for a course I never attended. So, yeah.
You were a plank holder, though.
Yeah. I the first time, what is the big white building? Not the headquarters, but the schoolhouse building, not Bryant or
Bank Hall.
Bank Hall, yeah. I can't ever keep them straight. Yeah. The first time I'd ever went into Bank Hall was as an instructor.
Yeah, nice.
But I did 18 months there, and then I got promoted to Master Sergeant, and there wasn't a position for me. So at that time, that was 2011. Oh, let me back up. I got married again.
Because of course you did. You'd been divorced for about a year.
It is a hobby.
Yeah. But I'm still married to that lady today.
Okay. All right,
yeah.
All right.
Fourth time was the charm. Yeah. I actually got talking to my sister's best friend, and turns out that I'd known her for a couple of years. And turns out she had a crush on me from a long time ago. She was married too, and then she got divorced. And then we got together, and it's been heaven ever since with that. So my daughter, who had been living up in, because we hadn't mentioned my daughter anymore, she'd been living in Virginia with her mom. They got into it, and this was in, I just come back from Iraq. And this was in May, and she got into it with her mom, and she said, I want to go live with my dad. And she's 15 at the time. And her mom says, well, if you're going tonight. She called me at 9:30. I got in the truck, went and got her, brought her home.
Does it sound familiar, Dan?
Yes.
And she never looked back. And so she moved in with me. And then in August of 2010, because we came back in April 2010, in August of 2010, my wife moved down. She wasn't my wife yet, just my girlfriend. Her and what are now my 2 kids moved down, and then we got married the next spring in May of 2011. And so anyway, when I got promoted to Master Sergeant, I went over and stood up to 83rd, me and Will Butler.
So before we get to the 83rd, during your time in the 96th, that is when the rest of the 95th Brigade had been filled out. So all of the other battalions had been created. So during you said 4 years in the 96?
Yeah, it's 4 years, yeah. Roughly.
The 95th CA Brigade has been stood up. And in addition to that, they've also stood up, or at least started, the 85th, which we have discussed on the show before, so we won't get the whole history on all that. But 2 CA Brigades. Yep. Okay, so you said you go to the 83rd.
I go to 83rd.
Got it.
They make me the Alpha Company First Sergeant. I was like the 12th person in the door for the whole battalion.
Yep.
It was me and Will Butler, and Colonel Baumgartner, and I can't remember this guy's name. Absolute brilliant, nerdy guy, but brilliant. Anyway, it's not important. He basically did everything. Stood up desk 3, desk 2, desk 1, like everything. So we stood that up and manned them, equipped them, trained them, and went to Afghanistan.
Okay.
In the fall of 13, August of 13.
In support of 18th Airborne Corps?
We were spread out all over the place.
Yeah.
The whole company was. But we were at in Mezai Sharif up north.
Okay.
And then we had guys, I had one with the Swedish PRT.
Yeah.
That was interesting. We had one out in Herat with the Italian PRT. And then we had another team. We had some guys at Bagram working headquarters type stuff. And then I had one team, were they with Romanians maybe? I can't remember.
Poles we had a lot
Something
of Poles
like
and
that,
Romanians.
yeah. I was only there 2 months, and I hurt my back. And I was working out, and I worked out. I was fine. Everything was good. I went and took a shower. I was going to go to work. I was bent over to put on my underwear. Not that that's a visual anybody needs, but it was like when I bent over, something shot through my back, and I fell down.
Yep.
And I was like, that ain't good. And I'd had back injuries all my life.
Been there.
Right? Like it doesn't take much for me to pull a back muscle. Strain a back muscle, and then I'm down for a couple days. But I was like crashed on the floor. And I'd already had MRIs. I knew the situation with my back and everything, but it finally went. And so I went to the doc, and I told the doc, hey, I went to Aid Station. I said, hey, here's my history, and now here's my symptoms. He said, what do you think it is? I said, a ruptured disc. It's oozing out, pushing on nerve. And he's like, yeah, that's probably a pretty good assumption. I couldn't hardly move. He said, well, the only thing to do is send you home. And my company commander at the time was Carlos Moya, and Brian Lockwald was my CMOC NCOIC. And so he took over for me, and the company was in good hands with him. And that was, professionally, that was one of the toughest things, was to leave my people in country.
Of course.
Yeah. But I couldn't stand up. It just so happened that right after that, Colonel Rice, Battalion Commander, Sergeant Major Lewis, came up to our location, and I fell down on the floor in front of them and wasn't even faking it. It's like, they're like, you okay? I'm like, just give me a minute, I'll be all right. They're like, yeah, you should probably go home. And so I went home. And that was October, November of 13.
13.
And I had, it was October. I was only there 2 months. And I had surgery in 14. Nerve root decompression. Just went in, cleaned me up, and I was back at it.
Was it indeed a ruptured disc?
Yeah, they had to clean it out. Like, it had a hole in it. They cleaned it up, and when it ruptured, everything come out and was filling up that nerve tract and pushing that nerve up against the vertebrae, and that's what was causing my pain. But it was bad. And you said you had a couple of back surgeries.
Multiples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're picking up what I'm putting down. So yeah, but then I was kind of good as new after that, and went right back at it.
So you stayed in your first sergeant?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that was 14, and I stayed as the company came back, a couple months after I had surgery, and then I stayed there as the first sergeant until I took over in November or December of 11, and I was the first sergeant until June of 15.
Man,
same seat.
That's a long haul.
That was
with a diamond. Jeez.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
From nothing to stood them up, to deploy them, bring them back, retrain them, get them prepared to deploy again. And my wife was starting nursing school, and I was like, man, I got to find myself a job. And I thought, maybe I'll go back to Korea, like 1 year tour, and I can come back here. So I told Sergeant Major, and
reset that duel.
You're right.
After your first time in Korea, and how awful that was for you, you were looking to go back?
It was awful because of
Family.
the wife that I had.
Family situation.
Right.
Yeah.
That-
Well,
I
I
had
mean,
it-
and the food and,
Yeah,
and
I can-
everything. I mean,
yeah.
all those things combined for a really bad experience. But you were willing to do that.
It was a sacrifice too, so that nursing school was something my wife always wanted to do. So I was willing to give her everything that, give her what she wanted. So, yeah, I was willing to do that, even be away. And so, how it goes there. They go to a manning meeting. They come back. They tell you where you're going, whatever, right? And they're like, "Hey, you're going to Kuwait." I was like, "Great." Hold on, what? I'm like, wrong wrong direction. And then first of all, who PCSs to Kuwait?
Oh, they have jobs
Yeah,
there.
and I was like, whatever. It actually turned out all right because it was fine. I mean, the downside is it was 6 days a week. There was absolutely nothing to do. You could hardly go off the base.
Kuwait
Where
is
were you?
purgatory.
Yeah.
Where were you?
At Arif John.
Arif John.
But I got into some of the best shape of my life at well into my 30s, just working out and,
Trying to keep the sand out of everything.
yeah, going at it, man. And like literally, I went over there. I was 227 pounds, and I came back 200. Like I was ripped, and now I'm back to 227.
Yeah.
Retirement to do that. To
It
me.
happens.
Yeah. So did that for a year, and then I came home, and that was very uneventful.
What was your role over there?
I was the G34 ARCENT, so I was assigned to ARCENT out of Shaw.
Army Central.
Yeah, Army Central Command, yeah. And I was assigned to them, but when I first got there, they were part of OIF. Like, I think it was the beginning of OIF. Not OIF.
Inherent Resolve.
Inherent Resolve, yes. I knew that one right as soon as I said it. Inherent Resolve. Well, they were kind of leading that deal. And then they turned it over to 3 Corps.
Yep.
And then I moved over to a different building. And from then I was basically G3-4 Sergeant Major forward was my position. And I fell directly under Sergeant Major Iftime.
Yeah.
Iftime.
Iftime.
Yeah.
Yep.
George.
He's still around.
Love that guy.
George is
one of my favorite
he's the
people.
best.
Yeah. And so him and Colonel Rydell and worked for those guys. I did that for a year, and it was good because it helped me get into shape. It helped my wife.
Yeah.
Financially, it was better because it was tax-free and
Tax-free.
stuff like. So it worked out. It wasn't.
I can't believe Kuwait is tax-free.
I know, right? I managed to go downtown get a couple of suits made so that I can't fit into now. But no, it was great.
Oh, you had suits made while you were ripped. That's your mistake, right?
Yeah, total. Yeah, yeah. It's like Chris Farley. It's like fat man in a little coat right now. Yeah,
That's right.
It's like this. The buttons. It's bad. So, So I came back from there in the summer of 16, and while I was home for Christmas leave, I went and met with Nick Troxler, the Brigade Sergeant Major, and he was like, "Hey, where you want to go?" I said, "Well, having been gone a year, I really don't want to try to deploy again." I said, "Can you send me to SWIC?" He was like, "Yeah, no problem." And I'm trying to think who the branch manager branch manager was at the time, assignment manager. It's not important. He called me up. He's like, "Hey, man, they're trying to send you to Fort Hood,
The great place.
to the 3 Corps." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "No, like that wasn't the deal."
Yeah.
Well, I had signed HAP,
Yes.
Home Place Assignment
Yep.
Program, whatever.
For Fort Bragg.
Yeah, for Fort Bragg.
Yep.
So he tells Nick, he says, "Hey, we got to honor this." So they're like, "Okay, send him to SWIC." It's like, he must have forgot the conversation in like
Geez.
2.5 months. Anyway, which is possible, whatever. So anyway, I go back to SWIC. I go back to 3rd Battalion, and I would go to HHD, and it's a funny story. So I had called I guess maybe like a fool, I'd called the Sergeant Major, and just kind of a courtesy thing. It's like, "Hey, I'm coming in, being assigned was wonderful, have an idea what I might be doing, yada." Nope. That's like the end of the conversation. I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Just be able to pass PT test and 12-mile road march." No problem. I'm good there, right? And I was thinking, man, this guy's going to be terrible. Pat Fensom, great dude. Love that dude, right? And turned out we got along really well. So he brings me to his office. He's like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, Sergeant Major," I said, "I've been a first sergeant forever." I said, "I don't really want to do that anymore. But if you need me to do it, I will." I said, "I'll do anything."
It's different in SWIC, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I said, "I'll do whatever you need me to do." I said, "You need me to sweep the floor? Where's the broom closet?" I said, "You want me to take your job? Move. I'll sit behind your desk and do your job. I don't really care. Whatever you need me to do. I just want to come to work." I said, "I want to be a contributing member to society, and I want to go home." And he was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Well, are you competitive for promotion?" I said, "I've been turning it down." He's like, "Why?" I said, "Well, I don't think I'm competitive. I said, I went to SEER school. I got hurt on the final evasion, and I never went back." I said, "And I don't have a language." He's like, "You want to go to both of those?" Nope. No desire. The writing was on the wall. They were promoting much younger guys than I was long in the tooth. I'm at like 20 years, over 20 years, right? 20, 21 and a half or two or something like that. And he was like, "Okay, well, we'll put you to work." I was like, "Good." So there was a respect.
A mutual understanding.
Mutual understanding there, right?
And then he turned you around and pointed you to the broom closet.
Yeah, I'd have been happy, right? I didn't care. So I ended up in HHD, working for a guy that I outranked, time and grade and service, Craig Andreessen, good friend. Talk to that dude about every day. And I said, I immediately went to him and I said, "Look, I ain't trying to step on your toes." I said, "You just treat me like anybody else, man. You need me to do something, you tell me, I'll do it. I'm here to help you out. If you're going to be out, let me know. You need me to take over, whatever the case may be." And it worked out great. And then, so I was the detachment sergeant in charge of all of the E7s that were herding all the cats. And then Craig Andreessen went to Afghanistan, and they were like, "Hey, you want to be the first sergeant?" And I was like, "Well, do you have a sergeant first class you can put in it? I don't need it." Mm-hmm. And they were like, "You'll answer to him?" I was like, "I don't care. Like, I got no ego." And so they put this E7 in there, and the E7 looked at me. He's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Dude, this is going to benefit you more than it benefits me. Yeah. I don't really care, right?"
Yeah.
And
those diamonds are hard to come by. I mean, it's especially now, man.
So I'm like, let you get some experience so you can get promoted, right? And because it would have been like, I don't know, 5 or 6 months he would have been sitting in that seat or something. I don't know how long it was. And then Chris Linwood ended up coming in and taking over. Yeah, big Chris. So I was resigned to, I'm not getting promoted. I don't want to get promoted anymore. My wife's now getting ready to start nursing school at Methodist University. And so I'm cool. And then I went to sick call one day for something unrelated to my back, and the doc seen my beret, and she's like, "Are you jumping?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was in good shape." Right? She's like, "You crazy?" She's like, "I see your records. You want to walk when you're 50?" I was like, "That'd be nice." And she's like, "Well, you shouldn't be airborne then. You shouldn't be jumping." And I was like, "Well, that sounds like a med board to me." And she's like, "What?" I said, "My MOS requires me to jump out of airplanes." Mm-hmm. I said, "If I can't do that, I ain't hanging around." I said, "We might as well go med board route." And she said, "Okay." So we did a couple of things. That was late 16. March of 17, I was in the med board process. November 17, 1 week shy of 23 years, I was out of the Army. Yeah, I was there for 18 months.
When you were being offered these positions and you were turning them around or deferring them to younger guys because you knew you weren't going to get promoted, and did you kind of already see the writing on the wall? Like, I'm not going to be doing this much longer. Because you were over 20 years.
Yeah, I was mentally checked up. I couldn't retire because when I kind of missed out on a tax-free bonus. I got the bonus, but when I got hurt and I came home, shortly after I got home, I found out about the blood money, as we call it, right? Mm-hmm. The $75,000 for 6 years. So I signed up for that. So I had to go until November of 2019. But the med board was a way out. If I had just tried to retire, I'd had to pay some of the money back.
Yeah.
But when you med board, like, they kick you out, basically. They disqualify you, and you can't go. You can't continue. And you don't. It's basically out of your control. It's not your doing, right? It's involuntary. But I knew that. So that's the route I pushed because I was mentally done. I wasn't physically done. I was in really good shape. And and I enjoyed doing what I was doing, but I was mentally done. I was like, let's give somebody else a chance. I don't need to suck up this position.
Just kind of marking time.
Yeah.
I mean, we ask most of our guests if they left on their own terms, and for most of our guests, the answer is usually a qualified yes. And it sounds like you might be kind of one of those too.
Yeah, I absolutely, I pushed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, no resentment. I was not like, oh, this place sucks, I got to get out of here. None of that. I was happy where I was at, but I didn't like the idea of just marking time, collecting a paycheck, because that's what I felt like it was. If I couldn't continue to get promoted, because you see these people sitting all the time in these positions and they didn't care and they're just sucking up a spot for somebody else. Yeah, right. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't. I mean, I could have been a contributing member, and I helped rewrite the phase 1 to the civil affairs course and all that. So I was very useful, well, in my own right anyway. But I was just mentally, I was done. I was like, if I can't get promoted, or I'm not going to get promoted. There's just no sense. Let me go on and do bigger and better things, and let me open this position up for some inspiring Sergeant First Class.
Yeah, I mean, 3rd Battalion was probably one of my favorite times in my entire career.
It's a good time. It's rewarding. I
loved it.
Yeah, training students is rewarding, and you know, that's what I get to do now. So yeah. So and I was out of uniform in November of 17. Yeah. So
no regrets.
No, none at all. As far as my career, there's one thing I wish I would have done. I wish I would have gone to be a drill sergeant. It's one thing I didn't do, and I wish I would have. I tell people that, and they're like, "Are you crazy?"
Well, are you crazy?
Not on paper, but not officially. But I just do. I wish I would have. I had when I was in Italy, I had a staff sergeant, squad leader, Morris James, and he told me, he said, you'd make a good drill sergeant. And I thought, man, maybe I ought to go, but it just never worked out. I got into, I went to Fort Huachuca in Korea, and then went to SOCM and got promoted to Sergeant First Class, and then I was in SOF, and I was like, well, I ain't leaving here.
Yeah.
So it was good times. So, since I've been retired, doing that allowed my wife to graduate nursing school and stuff, and then allowed me to stay in place. I was still in the same house in Hope Mills, and my son graduated high school. My daughter graduated high school there. In the meantime, I got a job at the Special Operations Mission Training Center at the Yarborough Complex. Mm-hmm. I was teaching some mapping stuff. It's a good job. Then I went over to be a training analyst for their warfighter exercises. And then I applied for a job at the Army Reserve Command as a program manager for Knowledge Management Director, And I had no idea what that was, but I thought, looks fun.
I'll figure it out.
I got hired, got a little pay raise, but it was a good experience. I was there for 2 years. It was a forcing mechanism for me to get my PMP, or Project Management Professional certification, which I'd always wanted to do, but I needed some motivation, and so I did that, and so I worked that job for 2 years. The greatest thing about that job, the most rewarding thing about that job, was I managed to kind of help set 3 individuals that worked for me up for significant futures. Like, one of them ended up getting a GS job there because of making connections. Doug Ross. Anyway, he's doing really.
I talked to him a few months ago.
Yeah, he's doing really, really well as a result of that job, staying with the same company.
I know who you're talking about.
All right. So that storm we were talking about.
Old Thor was angry with us.
Yeah.
You guys have gone long enough. Wrap this up.
Knocked out the power there for a minute. But
yeah.
All right.
So where were we?
We were talking about the jobs you had. So let me ask you. Up. When you got out, you were still taking on sort of military adjacent jobs, shall we say? Do you think that made your transition out of the active out of the military easier?
Well, my first job was I actually did an internship here. I used to do fence work on the side, and I started doing some fence work for a local pool company. And then I ended up doing an internship with them installing pools, and then they hired me for pennies. And I didn't agree with some of the stuff, and I should have seen it. But once I started got my pension going and my disability and everything going, I really didn't need them anymore. And so then I quit. I was only with them for a couple of months, getting paid, maybe 3. So then I was off. I was kind of doing nothing for a couple of months, and so as far as my transition goes, yeah, that didn't really help my transition too much, because I did that little bit of work, and then the wife's like, "Wait, look, if you don't, we're good. If you don't want to work, you don't have to, for a while or whatever." And then after like 2 months, I was so bored out of my mind, it wasn't even funny. So I just started looking for jobs. Funny story, one of the jobs I got an interview to be a security guard at Swick. And
they're always advertising.
Yeah, it was like GS7 or something, and it's pennies. And so I was preparing for the interview, and I was going to go do it, and one of them said, "Must abide by AR 670-1 standards," which is grooming. Right now, I grew a beard, and I called him back, and I was like, "Not interested. Changed my mind. Right? Not for GS7 job."
Yeah, I ain't shaving for a GS7.
Yeah, I'm not saving for a GS7 job, right? And the wife was like, "Yeah, you don't need to do that," and because she likes my beard, and she gets mad if I mess it up and have to shave it off. So, yeah. Anyway, so I ended up applying for jobs, and then I got hired there and at the Special Operations Mission Training Center. That did help my transition, though, because I really didn't fit in with the people there at the pool company. And then I was back around my element, right? Yeah. Soft guys. And so it was a lot of fun. And, like I said, that's where Jeff there was working. And so I was around him again. And then Craig Andreessen, I got him hired. He kind of took my position when I moved back to the warfighter stuff. But I met a lot of cool people there. So that staying in that military industrial complex, if you will, kind of helped, helped with the transition. And I think it does most people, I suspect, because you're in your element.
You're not quitting it cold turkey.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're just taking the uniform off, and then
maybe we're relaxing some of the standards a bit.
Yeah. You're getting used to going to work at 8 and leaving at 4, as opposed to going to work at 5 and leaving at 7.
6 whenever the mission's done.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So, yeah. So I did that program manager job for 2 years, and now I teach project management classes for a company called PM ProLearn. I've been with them for almost 3 years. Next month, next week will be 3 years actually, and it's a great job. And I work from home or I travel. I mean, they've sent me to Italy, Hawaii, Leonard Wood.
That's like another country.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, but it's a good gig. And it gives me plenty of flexibility to do my racing hobby and stuff like that. So, yeah.
If you could go back to being that 17-year-old high school GED holder, waving it at the Air Force recruiter, all the way to seeing a guy almost get his arm stripped off to a drop zone,
getting blown out of your bed in Islamabad,
all the way to taking the med board for a bad back, would you do it all again?
Yeah, man, because here's the bottom line. I had nothing, right? As a kid, I was going nowhere fast. I wasn't in trouble or anything, but I mean, I had no education. Who knows? I'd probably be a 49-year-old fence installer at this point, right? Maybe I'd be a company owner. I don't know, but that wasn't what I wanted to do. And knowing what I know now, and the friends I've made, the memories, the ups and even the downs. I wouldn't. It's made me who I am. The military is, who I am. I grew up. I became a man in the military, and I use it in my teachings, and I wouldn't change anything, man. It was the best decision I ever did, and it. It made my dad proud.
That's big.
Yeah, and he's 86 now, and all I ever wanted for him to see me retire, and he did. So, yep, I'll do it all over again.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the best part about it. Because he never wanted me to get out. He's like, nope, stay, right? Super proud of you. He was my biggest supporter, and I'd be home, we'd be doing things, and he'd be like, how's my son? He's in the Army. He was super proud, so yeah.
Well, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show today, brother.
It's been great.
Dude, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. A lot of laughs.
Thank you so much.
And, thinking about some of these old times, so it's great.
Perfect. Thanks.
Right on, guys.
So, what'd you think?
Another really great Army veteran on the show. Disclosure, Brian and I are old friends, so probably should have led with that. But really, really good discussion. I love, like so many of our episodes, I love the trajectory of, kind of a good young person, solid, but not really knowing where they want to go, a little adrift.
Directionless?
Yeah. And really find their footing in the military and are able to kind of use that as a springboard into a good career, and then just all around, becoming an all around patriot and a functional adult, frankly. So good.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of interesting that he had no interest in the medical field. He really did.
And he chose medic.
And he chose medic. And every step, when you re-enlist, you can choose to change your job. Mm-hmm. You can re-enlist to get a different MOS. Mm-hmm. But he didn't. He didn't ever.
Indecision is a decision. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And by all accounts, he was good at it. He was getting promoted up. He was given, several he was given some great assignments, and then like all of us, we have assignments that are great, but we also get the opposite side of that coin, and he found his out at Huachuca.
They call it the service for a reason.
Yeah. Sometimes things work out well, but when the roller coaster is in its height, there's only one way to go.
Right.
So it certainly seemed like that, because he was miserable. I believe he said he was at the hospital or the medical center out there, and then he gets a lifeline. Hey, come and work for me. And so he's like, awesome, and he does, and then that person ends up being a terrible boss, and he's hating life even more.
The grass is not always greener.
So then he gets out of that and goes somewhere else, and then that bad boss follows him there right after he re-enlists.
Yeah.
Can't win for trying.
Sounds like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just like that, though. But he kept his head up. He kept grinding. He was always willing to look for another job.
Yeah.
Whenever he, got bored or was in a bad position, he was never hesitant about, calling branch and seeing what was out there, or going and showing up at a unit, trying to meet the sergeant major or whoever to try and, get on there before he had pinpoint orders. And Yeah. There are plenty of people, and I fall into that category to a degree. Just, hey, the Army will send me where the Army needs me.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly can't take credit for coming up with this, but I mean, where I came from, we had a saying that it was, you're your own best advocate when it comes to your direction of your career,
Yeah.
right? So sounds like he did a pretty good job, all things considered, of wrangling his future assignments and sometimes his current assignments into something good.
Yeah.
It's an art, not a science.
Yeah. And he had some ups and downs in his career, certainly, but then he also had them in his personal life as well.
Yeah.
And we didn't get into all the details and everything, and that's not important. That's not really the point of the show. But sometimes having those personal issues combined with professional issues can take you down a very dark path, professionally and personally, and you can wind up in some dark places mentally or behind bars physically.
With your dog.
With your dog or by yourself. And he didn't ever let it get that far. That takes a remarkable amount of, I hate to say it, but resiliency.
The R word. Oh no.
Yeah.
You've
So-
become one of them.
Ugh.
When he was 17, he probably would have been just kind of shaky on this, but I mean, teenage pregnancy and all that. I mean, he made a hash of it because a lot of people don't ever bounce back from that.
Yep.
So the military was a good outlet for him.
Yeah.
And
Not just an outlet, but a way for him to move his family forward, not just for him, but for his children and grandchildren down the road.
yeah,
And he had a fan, his own cheerleading section, in his father that, when things got hard or when he was at a decision point, his dad pushed him to stay in the military because he was proud of him, but then also because his dad, whether he said it or not, knew this is the best thing for him, whether he knows it or not.
Yeah.
That's
dear old dad, right?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes, kids, your parents know better than you do.
Can you imagine? Oh, perish the thought.
That was pretty great.
Okay. Anything else on Mr. Peacoe?
I don't think so.
So thanks for coming on the show, Brian.
Yeah, that was great. And we talked about a lot of stuff off camera,
Like we always do.
like we always do. And for the audience, Brian is also a racer, a race car driver.
Yeah.
And we look forward to an opportunity that he proffered us about maybe getting to ride along in a race here relatively soon.
But he is not a nuclear engineer. Thanks, Rusty. Okay. Okay. Parting shots on Mr. Peacoe.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, I don't think so.
All right. It's that time.
It is that time. Free fire. So, a lot of great books have been made into movies.
Okay.
And sometimes those movies then end up getting turned into TV shows. And then, of course, they have to remake it because writers are unoriginal. But the constant refrain is that the movie or the TV show is never as good as the book. The book is always better. And I think that is true probably 99.9% of the time. Is there a particular book to movie adaptation where you were super impressed? Like, wow, I don't really have any complaints here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is by far the best adaptation from book to screen. I don't even think it's close. Yes, the extended versions.
That's an entire day of your life.
I think,
Not The Hobbit, though.
and this goes even back to the late 90s when they were floating the idea that Peter Jackson was going to take this project on, because I guess they would have started filming in the late 90s. I mean, because the first one came out in 01, I want to say.
Something like that. 01,
Yeah.
02, something. Yeah.
When I even heard that they were going to take this on, I was highly, highly, highly skeptical that
Yeah, you and me both.
because Lord of the Rings is it's just too big of a project.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect in its. I'll put it this way: it's not literally perfect in the adaptation from the book. I think it's as good as it could have possibly have been, just based on the source material.
Yeah. Being so vast and expansive.
Yeah.
And
You
in-depth.
said that better than me, but yes, yeah. So
Yeah. I agree. I did not think it was. I did not think that was going to be possible.
yeah,
You and I used to watch with your dad.
Yeah.
The
animated.
animated one from the 70s. Was it?
or
early 80s?
So the original animated Hobbit and Return of the King were from the mid to late 70s, and then there was, if you recall, there was another Lord of the Rings movie that covered the first two books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also in the 70s, which was a different studio did that in a very
Yeah.
different style of animation. Back then, that was all we had for, we'll just say movies. They were all animated, but for Tolkien.
Yeah.
Now, the Peter Jackson Hobbit movies,
Self-indulgent.
we'll go with self-indulgent. I mean, are they watchable? Yes. Do they honor the books? No, not even. Well, books, singular, I should say. Not even a little bit. Yeah,
Do you think that was another shameless cash grab by
absolutely.
the studios?
Absolutely.
I would agree.
So, yeah, Lord of the Rings trilogy. And it still holds up. I mean, it's over 20 years old now. And obviously the CGI is not as advanced then as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily see that as a detractor because some of the CGI now I think almost
Is too much.
it's too much.
Yeah, it takes away from the movie. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree.
Lord of the Rings. How about you?
Well, I'm going to go on the opposite side.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you one that is awful.
Okay.
And I hate to. Well, I don't hate to say it, but this would have been in the late '90s, early 2000s. The Count of Monte Cristo
Oh, with Guy Pearce.
with Guy Pearce, a very very young Henry Cavill,
Oh yeah.
James Frain, who is a terrific and underappreciated actor, I think, and Jim Caviezel, and I mean it was Luis Guzman. It was an all-star cast. That movie
Was a fumble.
was a fumble.
Okay.
It was not good. I watched it again recently, thinking, you know what, maybe
Yeah.
maybe I was too harsh in my youth. No, I don't understand how they could have so many talented, and then they were
Such a great story too.
It is.
I mean,
It is
yeah.
one of my top 5 favorite books of all time,
Yeah.
and just incredible. And trying to mash that story into like 96 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah. Leaves you wanting.
I'm not saying that you have to show Jim Caviezel in the Chateau d'If for an hour and a half, learning all these languages and philosophy and math and whatnot. I'm not saying you got to show that, but you can't sum it all up in a 90-second montage.
It's exposition. Yeah.
It's
Was this before or after Jim Caviezel was Jesus?
this
would have been
this
several
would-
years
this would have been
before.
before, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were. I mean, Henry Cavill, I think, was like 13, 14 when he.
I don't know if he was that young. No.
Yeah, he was. That might have been one of his first roles,
Hmm.
something like that. Yeah, he was young. Yeah, yeah. And of course, Luis Guzman looked.
The exact same.
Exactly.
He's ageless. Good for him, man. He is
Yeah,
ageless.
he's awesome. But yeah,
Okay.
so you went with the good, I went with the bad.
Okay, yeah, it balances out. Pretty much all video game adaptations to movies are terrible. So don't at me. I'm not trying to hear it.
Did you see
you know that I'm right?
Did you see the newest Mortal Kombat movie?
No.
I mean, I heard it was pretty good.
Mortal Kombat.
But we grew up with Mario Brothers, Street Fighter. Mario Brothers had John Leguizamo and
I can picture his face and I can't think of his name.
I can't think of it. And then Street Fighter had a severely drug addicted Van Damme.
And the guy that played M. Bison killed.
Yeah. He had cancer, and that was like the last role he ever did. So, and then he was a very good actor too. I wish I could remember his name, but. And then we also had the original Mortal Kombat movie. All three of those movies came out like within
close,
like a year or 2 years of each other, and they were all awful. Don't make a. I haven't seen the new. I haven't seen the new Mario Brothers movie either. Apparently, that was really
My kids
good.
enjoyed it, but
Yeah, I don't know.
But kids are terrible film critics, so
Yeah, the Ninja Turtle movies, all four.
Well,
of
the
them?
originals.
No, the originals weren't that great either.
They were okay.
The remakes are exactly what you. Or I shouldn't say remakes. The reboot. They did 2 of them.
Yeah.
Are exactly what you were talking about with the CGI. It's just too much.
Yeah.
It's just too much. So, leave the video games in.
Leave them where they
video
belong.
games. Video games, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, everybody, thanks for listening and watching. Yeah. Again, another, I think, good discussion.
Yeah.
Please like, share, and follow the content. Give us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. It helps get the show out. So
share it with friends, family. Write a review if you're so inclined, or just move it all the way over to 5 stars, or whatever your platform of choice does.
Check out our tracerburnout.com. We've got some pretty cool swag.
We do.
Helps us pay the bills around here, so please buy a shirt.
Yeah, a shirt, a sweatshirt, a mug, a sticker, all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff over there. And we should probably see about shifting things around in the store a bit since it's summertime. Maybe we can pull out the old apron.
The aprons are in stock. Oh, we have them.
The barbecue aprons.
We have the barbecue aprons, yes.
Very nice.
We have sold a few.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You want to take us away?
Let's do it. Remember, your service matters.